All right, Mark Knight is back. He was on the show about 2 years ago, and we covered a lot of ground there. So check out that one if you haven't already. It's episode 112. And today he's here to discuss his new solo record, Lonesome Songs. That'll be a continuation of his solo career of Mark Knight and the Unsung Heroes. We're also going to discuss his work on the movie Airheads, getting a call from Slash to try out for Guns N' Roses, the lost Bang Tango album, Love After Death, and so much more. Stay tuned. Yeah, so new album. What it's called, Lonesome Songs. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, so it's produced by Adam Hamilton. I love him.
He co-produced it with me, pretty much. Yeah. Adam, and then Wayne Lothian from the English Beat, the bass player from the English Beat. He co-produced a couple songs as well. But yeah, Adam and me pretty much did the bulk of the production and the arrangements, and yeah, he did it. He mixed it. I did a lot of it here at my house in my home studio, and then gave the tracks to him. And we also used him, Tig Kettler on drums, and we recorded that in his studio. But the guitars and the vocals were all done at my house, right here in my studio.
Oh, nice. That's easy to be able to, much better than back in the day when you're having to drive into the studio and have a producer. Like, I think we talked about that last time. One of the albums, I think, was it the first one or second one, where you're doing like 12-hour days or whatever? It was just crazy.
That was Days of a Dreamer, the last one before this one.
Yeah. Or I meant like the first or second Bang Tango.
Oh,
like,
Bang Tango.
Where they really pushed you in the studio, like for like really long days.
All of them were like that.
Yeah, because that's different when you have a record label on you, and like there's a lot of money involved, so it's very stressful.
That was like also before like Pro Tools and modern technology with editing and finding the right parts. You had to like use tape and splice it all together and make those records. So it just took a longer time. Yeah.
It's amazing though. Like most of the records I listen to now, they sound amazing. They sound great production. And I'll ask like, oh, who produced this? And it's always like, oh, we produced it ourselves. Or like, I just heard the new Extreme album, and I was asking, I had Gary on, and I was asking him about that. And I said, who produced this? And he's, oh, Nuno produced it. I'm like, wow. Cause I mean, it sounds top notch. It sounds amazing. It's just like, that's what you can do now with Pro Tools.
Yeah. You really can. And if you know how to turn the knobs and you have a good ear and you learn the technology, you could do, good mics, good guitars, good amps, good musicians. You can do it you could do it at home pretty much. I think that the more you go into like kind of world-class recording studios with big producers, they want to use all the bells and whistles and all their outboard gear and all these crazy things. And I think you lose the intimacy of like real authentic sounds, and like the less you know, almost the better at times.
Right. Yeah. I just think like some of those albums, I think it was just, I saw an article about Kip Winger saying he wanted to remix his first couple albums. Like, I think there's a lot of bands that, looking back with the technology, I feel like the technology is better. Like what you have on your iMac is probably better than what they had in the studio in the 80s, like just because it's changed so much.
Well, the analog and the old outboard gear was great because it was all tubes. Like it was warm, like the knee pre's and all those things. And the old consoles really gave a great, huge sound, as well as the microphones too back then. So technology's kind of squashed a lot of that with so much compression and so, modern simulation of sounds, not as opposed to using older gear, which a lot of like, purist recording artists that still go with that, the older stuff. So, there's both sides of that. If you know how to use the stuff, and you have a good ear, like I said, you can make a lot of these plugins off Pro Tools sound like, world, need preamps, lexicon delays or whatever it may be. So, it's just a matter of like being just, have a good ear.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like about the old stuff and kind of bringing that back. Like, did you see that Dave Grohl documentary, The Sound City, where he finds that old studio and he fixes it back up and he records stuff. And there is something to be said about that, getting the certain sounds with the older equipment.
Yeah, I recorded at that studio, Sound City. That's a classic Neve board. And then he moved it to his studio, and I actually recorded on it again at his studio, which was super cool. I did a song in there. I think what's the studio called, 606 or something. But he
Yeah.
bought that Neve console and brought it after he did that documentary. He bought that Neve console, brought it to his studio, and uh, the second time in my career, I recorded on it again. So, but that thing's magic. It's like I said, it's the old tubes and the old components that make those consoles sound great, and then the preamps.
Absolutely. So the new album, I haven't heard it, but so tell me about it. Like, I'm assuming this is just a continuation of your solo career in terms of musical style and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it is. It's a little different. It's a little bit going back to uh, the more like song, like more. It's not as overproduced. I don't want to say overproduced, but it's a little bit more authentic, a little bit more rootsy, a little bit more acoustic driven, a little bit more storytelling. Not so atmospheric, kind of like Days of a Dreamer had some songs that were kind of, I branched out and did some different stuff on that one, but it goes back to kind of more my sound.
Okay. Can you give us some song titles or
Yeah, sure, yeah.
themes?
Uh, Let me think. There's the first song is called Bag. I have a song called San Fernando Valley, which is basically about uh my upbringing of growing up in the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles County. What else is on there? There's so many cool songs. Lonesome Songs is the title track. That's a true life story of uh being on the road in the South and doing 9 shows in a row in the last day, and the state I was in. There's a lot of great stories. What else? I kind of dug into a couple like historical stories of my life and stuff and people I've seen. Like I kind of went back to that. It's not all about like current emotions of how I'm feeling today. So I kind of dip back into the storytelling mode a little bit more on this one.
Like happy times, sad times, everything, or
Yeah, it's pretty much all over the place. There's trials and tribulations. There's good times. There's raising kids. There's their problems. There's the pandemic stuff that went down. How you know we were all kind of shut down. I have a song called "Shutdown" actually, which is um, about basically about a bartender in the South that no more bands were rolling into town, and I told her the story of her being a bartender that I knew back in the day, and how like you know they lost their job because nobody could tour and stuff like that.
yeah. How did that affect you? Because I know you do other stuff other than music, so you were okay during that whole shutdown stuff.
Well, I pretty much just wrote another record. uh I did a lot of writing for Days of a Dreamer, I think, back, and recorded it during that time too. But then after that, the pandemic continued on for another year or so. So I ended up just writing a bunch of songs, and just took on another project of putting another record together.
Yeah, because I thought I heard you say something like, see, I always thought, I know you do the woodworking stuff. I thought that was like your main thing and the music was just like a side thing. But I thought you said something like half your income is from music, which is kind of like surprising.
Oh yeah, I do a lot of live gigs, and then I sell a lot of merch and I sell a lot of CDs. It balances out. I mean, at times, plus I get royalties from my old band. Money comes in from music in a lot of different avenues. I do some solos for people, guitar work. So
Hmm.
it kind of balances out 50-50. Sometimes it's more music, sometimes it's more uh, my carpentry and my painting, and that end of the income.
With the solos, that's like guest spots on people's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
People hit me up and say, you want to do a solo on one of my songs, and they send me the tracks, and I give them a little price, and I lay it down and send it back, and they drop it in. And so I do a couple of those here and there. Not a lot, but I've done some producing over the years and made some money at that, producing young bands. Um, and then how else? Live gigs, and then selling my music online, basically. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
So it adds up. It's just like a little thing here and there, and just
Yeah, it
yeah,
adds up. It adds up over time.
cool. Well, what do you want the listeners to take away from this new album? I don't know, it's kind of like an abstract question, but
I want them just to be moved emotionally and you know turn some good feelings in themselves, and maybe some relatable subjects that they can identify with, which I'm singing about and talking about, and letting the music be the magic, as always.
yeah,
Music is magic, right?
yeah.
You want people to feel good from it, or feel anything, just feel. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, will you be doing a lot? I know I think I saw where there's one show in May. Is there going to be more shows? Would you do like maybe a mini tour or something like that to support the album?
Yeah, well, we're working on that right now. I'm trying to we're going out to Milwaukee and playing in May. We just did a couple shows recently in town, and I'm just kind of like kind of gonna work up like a kind of a solid lineup for the new material. I might bring in another guitar player. Actually, we've been doing a three-piece.
Yeah.
I've always had two guitar players, but the last year or so, we lost one of the guitar players, so I decided see if I could handle it by myself, and it worked out pretty well. And I got it pretty much under control. We brought Damian Valentine in on bass recently, great bass player. So we've got it covered. But for the new record, there's a lot of two guitar parts, and I played all the guitars, but there's two sides to each song as far as guitars. So I want to work on bringing in another guy and putting a band together to represent the new record. And that'll probably be like in June and July, and going into summer, and hopefully head out. Yeah, do some mini tours, just West Coast shows, East Coast, wherever it takes us.
Yeah, I think you did, because you recently did that show with Little Caesar and Junkyard. How did that go?
That was awesome, amazing, great night. It was a Sunday night, and they had just done 4 dates in the West Coast, and fortunate for me, I got to be part of that, and just a great night. Those bands are great, and just a lot of fun, and it went really well. Good crowds, and it kind of launched us off to kick out and play some more shows.
Yeah, could that be a small package tour that maybe just like at least like a West Coast dates or something? Because I mean, I'm here in Phoenix. I'm only like 5 hours from you. I mean, you could do Phoenix, Vegas, San Francisco. I mean, you could do a bunch of California cities and
Absolutely, yeah, that's what we talked about. I mean, I know some people in Phoenix as well, like other bands that have been contacting me, trying to get me booked out there in some decent venues. And yeah, you're right. I know people in Vegas. I could do like that whole little like Vegas, Phoenix, West Coast into the West Coast, and we could work. We're on our own. I don't have a booking agent. I just do it myself, basically. And get breaks. But I have had made some recent connections with some promoters that want to book us. So we might be doing some casinos and maybe some bigger venues, because those last two shows I did, the Gilby Clarke one, and Little Caesar one with Junkyard, and both those two went went well. So I got some good hookups with that. So hopefully some better bookings will be coming.
yeah, I mean, if anything, you could always do that, because I know you've done too, just the solo acoustic, like because John Corabi and Mike Tramp both do that. I mean, they're doing similar kind of stuff to you. Like that'd be a cool package, like the three of you to do some dates.
Absolutely, that'd be great. Mark Diggins from Rock Pit in Australia, he gets I think he gets both those artists over there in Australia, and he's been pushing for that forever for me.
Yeah.
He's a solid fan of mine, and he loves my music, and he's like, we just got to get you on with John Corabi. I mean, it's like perfect. We get you guys come over here, do like a acoustic sit down. I mean, that'd be a great idea, and I think I've reached out to John Corabi a couple times, but didn't get much response. But yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah, that'd be a cool one. Or so just some sort of, I feel like the packages with there's multiple bands, whether it's Junkyard or whoever, it's easier to fill up a venue when there's multiple bands, because then you're all promoting it all, you get some of your fans, some of their fans, and then, hopefully more ticket
Yeah,
sales.
you're
Yeah.
right, absolutely. Because both those last shows I did, one with Gilby and the one with Junkyard, and them both were great. They, because all the bands were pushing it, and you played to their fans, they played a couple of your fans, and um, it worked out. So I was fortunate on those because last year or so I was just playing dive bars in the valley here, and I was like, we have our little fan base here, but I think stepping into some gigs with some more well-known bands helped me a lot in the Unsung Heroes. So yeah.
Yeah. Would you ever consider starting a new band with some people from other bands, like a super group, basically? Have you ever considered doing something like that just for fun? I don't know, maybe a whole tour or an album or just like a few one-off shows or something?
I've thought of that, here every once in a while I'll think about that. I work with Oni Logan. He sang on
Yeah. Lynch Mob, right?
yeah. So Oni is like a singer pal of mine that he actually sang on a song called Hey Mama, Don't Kill the Cat. We did like a duet singing, and we've always like bounced the idea around about putting like kind of a somewhat all-starish band, like you said. So I've thought about it, but it's like I finish a record, I'm like, now's the time to do that. Let me rally some people up, get Oni, I've thought of other singers as well, but and then it just seems like getting people together and coordinating that is like, it seems difficult. I mean, I'm sure it can happen, but I've just never, I end up losing interest in it and deciding just to like continue doing my solo singer songwriter trip.
Yeah, no, that's probably a lot of fun when you could just do whatever you want. You're running the show, right? It's kind of nice.
Well, that helps.
Yeah. I feel like the older you get, like it's probably a lot easier to be in a band with 5 other guys when you're in your 20s. And then the older you get, you're like, you have less patience for kind of like bullshit and trying to negotiate and compromise and all that stuff.
But when you've been out on your own doing your own solo stuff, as long as I have,
Yeah.
it's like you can pretty much handle a singer-song. I sing, I play guitar, and I write the song. So it's pretty much, if somebody's not like filling those voids in a band situation, and you're dealing with those obstacles where you could just do it yourself almost,
Mhm.
maybe not with as much success, but I feel like I can pretty much handle that now. And sometimes, like, do I want to put myself through this for somebody's personality that maybe rubs other guys or me or whatever, singers crap or not showing up or being inconsistent. And I'm just like, yeah, fuck it, man. I'll just do myself, I kind of roll back into that because every time I get that, like, like you said, like that kind of like, that dreamy idea of putting a super group together with, some singer like Oni's great. I mean, I'm nothing against anybody in particular, but every time I get to that state, it just seems like so much work. And the payoff, you're not sure if you're going to get it because you rely on other people.
Yeah, that's true. I'd be intrigued to hear that what you two could come up with if you ever do decide to go forward with that though. That'd be
Yeah,
fun.
he's great. We talk on and off. He's always like, we got to get this thing together, but it never really happens. I finally got him to come down to the studio and sing on the song "Hey Mama" with me, and it was great. It worked out
Yeah.
perfect. One song, it was easy. He came in, he sang half the verses, I sang half the verses, and the song came out great. And that's as far as that went. But we're still in contact. You never know.
Yeah. Is there any special guests on this upcoming album?
Actually, no. It's this one's pretty pure. I gathered my best musician, the best musicians I know and friends, and just had them play on it. And there's not even any special background singers or any. I sang all the backgrounds for the most part. Adam Hamilton sang a little bit on, and then Wayne Lothian played 90% of the bass. He's just incredible bass player. I didn't need to go anywhere else. I asked a couple of friends if they would chime in, but they were busy or it didn't happen. And then I brought Tig, and he played on 7 tracks. And then Adam filled in on drums on two, and actually played bass on a couple. And he did the strings, and as well as Wayne Lothian, he did some string stuff too. I had it covered. And yeah, I did all the guitars. I didn't need to bring another guitar player in. I mean,
Yeah.
I might have considered maybe bringing a guy in to play some slide, but I ended up playing the slide and it just worked out. So I just kept it in house pretty much.
Nice. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, working with Adam, like, is he one of the nicest guys that you met in the business? I feel like people love him. I've never heard a bad thing about him.
Yeah, the guy's just awesome. He's just super professional. There's no bullshit with him. He basically tells you, honest opinions. And he just works hard, and so he's focused, and he just goes for the best he can get out of you. And it's funny because at the end of the day, I sent him a text, said, Adam, man, what do you think? What's your favorite song? And he goes, there's no favorite song. He goes, I love all of them. And I'm like, really? I go, I can't argue with that. That's a great report. No, he was just absolutely awesome. He'd come over to my house, and when I had problems with my Pro Tools or whatever, he lives like 3 miles away. So he'd swing by and just like fix my glitches, and he'd be out, and then, it was just, he's super professional and such a nice guy, and just no bullshit. It's a great dude.
Yeah, he's been busy. Like, he's doing the new LA Guns, and then he's got I think the actress Anne Margaret and some other big names that he's working with.
Yeah,
It's
he just
pretty
did
cool.
Missing Persons. He did Dale. I think he just did Dale
Yeah.
Bozio's solo record, or maybe it's Missing Persons. He's just got himself really plugged in, but he's a great musician too. So he gets, it's a package deal with him. You get the production, you get the recording, and then you get, like, if you need a drummer, he plays drums. You need a keyboard player. He played some keys. He organized, he orchestrated some string sections on a couple of songs, and I'm like, hey, I'm just give it a whack, and he sent it back and be like, it's done. So you get a lot with Adam. He's just so talented across the board,
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was listening to some of your other solo stuff, and the last album, Days of a Dreamer. And I was like, it was weird. Maybe I didn't notice this the last time I listened to it. The song "Fools Like You." I was really listening to the lyrics on that one. I was like, "Oh wait, who is this about?" I was like, "Man, I never really listened to the lyrics on this one." It's like, there's a lot of opinions on social media. Like, you've posted some stuff about tribute bands or bands clinging to the past and stuff. Is this about someone in particular or just in general?
Yeah, that kind of goes back to somebody particular, but I'm not going to mention who that is. But there was a theme for that song, definitely, and I had enough of some a certain personality, and I kind of like threw it into a song. But and then I kind of like use it in a general term for a lot of people. Just as far as me talking about tribute bands, I'm not opposed to tribute bands. Don't get me wrong. Since you brought that up, I'm just interested. I was recently interested in, like, do they pay the artist back? That, especially ones that are real successful. And what was the other thing? Living in the past. Yeah, as I said.
I feel like you posted stuff like that. Like,
well, living in the past thing was like, basically, that was taken out of context by somebody. I had no interpretation at all. And somebody dug into that too deep and made their own story out of that had nothing to do at all with them or anything to do with their band or their music or anything. And somebody kind of took a spin on that and kind of had a field day with it and kind of just went, and ended up throwing me out there. And I didn't even respond to any of that because it was just ridiculous. It wasn't even about that. I think I was just talking about, the post was mainly about having struggles with, kind of getting any attention from the industry. So in my solo career, I think that's what it was. It was, a couple of years ago or a year and a half back, but, it got like somebody grabbed it and just like went, his thought, put it about them. It wasn't about them at all. And I didn't even rebuttal to it. It was ridiculous. It's like, this has nothing to do with you. What's this tantrum you're going on about me, talking about people cashing in on their past. To me, I'm just going forward all the time. So, however you want to take it.
Yeah, no, it's just definitely I could see that with podcasting and social media and things. Like you say one thing and people could take your words and
Yeah.
put it and think you mean something else when you really don't. But yeah, you're right. They could twist
I
it.
woke up to this huge thing, and I'm like, what? This has nothing to do with this. And I just didn't even know what to say. It was just ridiculous. Like, I wasn't knocking on any bands and cashing in on their past or any of that. I understand that, we're all doing what we got to do to make ends meet. And sure, of course, we sell our old music and stuff. I think I was referring to the fact that I'm living in the present and writing new music and continually creating and going forward with new music. And that's where my point was that was missed. And that's kind of how that's
Yeah.
how, yeah.
Well, I would see that's what I always think. Like, I mean, I'm not a musician, but if I was, I feel like I would not want to just be playing the same songs. And I think I just saw an article. I think it was Kirk Hammett that was saying he was sick of playing Master of Puppets or the solo or something like that. Something
I
about
saw that too. I saw
yeah.
it.
So it was like, and he's in the biggest metal. You think like, oh, people would kill for this job, and he's like, oh, I'm so sick of playing this song. Like he's like complaining, but I get it because it's if you're not a person who likes to do the repetitive things, like I could never be a teacher. I used to work in the schools and I saw teachers, they teach the same thing 6 times a day. I mean, I would go nuts. So that's just me though. I kind of side with you. I'd rather be creating new things.
Hey, it's just boring to me. It's like, sure. I mean, if that was, if I was making a killing off playing one particular song in my past band or whatever, sure, I would do it for the money and for the job, but I would just be stagnant on playing stuff from the past. It's like it's. I understand that's your job. There's nothing, and it'd be worth it to have to make a good amount of money, but to keep doing it like, at the level that I'm basically doing my own original stuff at, I mean, what's the point for me? It just doesn't work. I'd rather, paint furniture or like build stuff. You know what I mean? I'd rather do that and then make original music and be stimulated and do it for the art. And that's, I want to be all like preachy, but I do it for the art more than anything. And the joy of creating music and being artistic. And that's what I do. That's my passion. It's not, of course, the money's great when you get it, but it's like that's always secondary for me, at least. Otherwise I'd be going out on, putting a Bang Tango, Mark Knight's Bang Tango and going out and, grinding out the States playing, someone like you with another group of guys or whatever. There's no way. It's just not my thing. But
yeah,
people do it. I get it. I'm not knocking it. It's fine. Whatever works. Maybe you like playing your stuff from 30 years, your whole life. I mean, I have nothing but respect for what we did in the band, but I just don't want to do that at this time.
Yeah. But there was a point. Wasn't there a point where you guys did do a different version of Bang Tango? Because I just had Chris Von Dahl on, and he was saying that he tracked songs with you guys as the singer of Bang Tango, and he said it sounded pretty good. But I was like, I wanted to ask you about that. Do you remember that? Like,
never tracked songs with us. We talked to Chris, me and Kyle, because we did this thing called Bang Tango Redux.
Yeah.
All original guys, but we had this singer that he just didn't work out. So we were going to continue on. Maybe he did take a couple. He did actually. I'll take that back.
Okay.
Chris is a great guy, great
he's
guy.
Cool. I like him.
Yeah, he's a great dude. We went out to Vegas. We had a meeting with him and we were, considering maybe him being the singer for the Redux, right? And I think he took one of the songs and he took it into his home studio and then he sang over. Yeah, that's what he did. That's right. And he played it for us and it was cool, but whatever. It just didn't work out. But yeah, that was a short-lived thing. We did like 2 gigs and it was like, all right, this is not working. I think that personally I feel, Joe Lestay is like Bang Tango with that band. Like we tried the one guy we were going to consider Chris, but then it was just like, it just kind of petered out.
Sure. Yeah. So you posted this thing recently about, I was going to ask you about the Airheads movie. You were Brendan Fraser's like guitar stunt double or what? I don't know what the term is, but you worked on that movie with him. Tell me about that story. That sounds amazing.
So I got a call from our management, and they're like, "Oh, you want to? They're doing this movie called Airheads, and they need some guitar work. There's this solo in the movie. Would you be willing to go into the studio and just do a like solo guitar thing by myself, just like a eruption vibe, you know?"
Hmm.
So I went in the studio, and then they're like, "Great, the producer loved it, the director loved it." So he's like, "They want you to double Brendan Fraser and be and we're going to film your actual fingers because there's no way he can do that." So I'm like, "Sure." So I went down. I spent a whole 12-hour day with the whole cast, and they filmed. They made me. They put the fake tattoos on me. The clothes. I doubled him basically, and then
Hmm.
every guitar scene they would have me come in and just they'd fill my fingers, not I'm part of my body, obviously. And so, anyways, that's what went down. It was a lot of fun, and you know, turns out the big whole solo thing never ended up on the editing floor, but it didn't make it. But some of the scenes of him playing, I think, made the movie where I was actually, that was my hands doing it.
Oh, that's cool. So then is that a thing where they just pay you for the day, or is that one where you get like a royalty for that every time the movie
No,
comes
I
in?
just got like it was like, I think I got two payments, one for the studio work of doing the guitar solo, and the other one for the day. I was basically acting, doubling his role of playing.
Oh, okay. That's still really cool that you
Yeah, it was
you
a
get to
lot
hang
of
out with
fun.
them.
They were great. It was a long day, and at the time, the movie was so hilarious because Bang Tango was doing some stuff, and we were like dealing with promoters and going to Vegas. Something was going on at the time, and the movie was so aligned with like my real life. And I'm sitting there watching this movie go, I'm actually living this while I'm like faking acting it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so was Adam Sandler and Steve Buscemi, they were there too?
Oh yeah, yeah. There was the three of them. Yeah, we like I hung out in the trailer with them. They were funny. They were just they were just cool and he was great. They were all great. He's a little bigger than me, so I remember it's a funny story. They give me like his like jeans and I put them on. They're a little big on me. I'm tall. I'm a tall guy, but he and I put them on. They're like these are too big for me. And Brendan Fraser goes, "What? Am I fat?" He was like, "What? How come they can't fit on you?" I'm like, "You're just a little bigger than me. You're not fat. You're just a bigger guy. Like calm down." He was like, "Oh man," he got all bummed out because
That's ironic because then he later plays the whale and
I
then
know, right?
that's
I
kind of
guess
funny.
he had issues with that his younger acting career, but he was just bigger. He was never a big fat guy or anything. But I was a little bit at that time. I was like really weight like noodle guy. I was super skinny. The pants was a little big on me. I mean, and then he's like, "Oh man," he got all bumped out on it. Like it's no big deal, man.
That's funny.
Uh,
And then you also, I want to ask you about this too, because you posted this kind of like, this was like a jaw dropper for me. Tell me the story about how you almost became the second guitarist in Guns N' Roses. This is crazy. I never heard this before.
Yeah, I don't really talk a lot about it. There was a period of time where they had just finished doing the cover of what was it?
Sympathy for the Devil?
Yeah, exactly. They had just covered that, and I got a call from Slash, and he said, they had brought one of Axl's guys in, some guitar player. I don't even remember his name, and I don't think Slash was really getting along with this guy, and Axl had brought him in. This is just what I got. The facts could be off, but and Slash just kind of said, you know, you want to learn the stuff, and we'll see where we can go with it. And I'm like, sure, So I basically learned two of the records, the first two records, I think, and the double record and the original Appetite, and I spent 2 weeks just woodshedding it and basically learning both their parts, Axel and Izzy's and Slash's parts, but mainly Izzy's stuff, obviously. And I felt pretty good about it. I was like, yeah, I got to do this one for sure. I'm not going to turn this down. And then, I never heard back from him. And then next thing I find out, I think him and Duff were out of the band, and that's when it all kind of split up. So I never even got my chance to like jam with them all, but I
So
learned.
it wasn't to do shows live. It was more just working in the studio or something.
No,
Or
I think it was probably to be like a guitar player for the band. I think Slash was looking for, another guy at the time, and Axel had his guy, and they were button heads at that time. So there was no like, you know, there was no. It was just kind of this vague thing where I got the call to kind of learn the stuff and come in and maybe try out as a second guitar player, and I was like super excited about it. I learned it all, and spent a couple weeks getting it all down, and then like I never heard back, and then I found out he the split up of the band. I don't know. I don't know if they fired each other or what happened, but I
yeah.
know I think Duff and Slash were out of the band all of a sudden, and Axel was starting on his new version of the band. So yeah, but it was I don't really talk much about it because it was just like kind of like a quick little blip. I didn't, it's not like I played with them, but I did.
Yeah, but just the fact that you were even considered. Were you
Yeah.
friends with Slash, or how did he have your number?
Yeah, I mean, I just known him throughout the years. We had, he got up with Bang Tango a couple times. One time in the Limelight years ago, and we all just bump into each other out there and about, and I think that's kind of how that came about. And then I think he knew the people. There's this clothes company called Chrome Hearts that used to make our clothes, and they made clothes, and I was real tight with all those guys, and Slash used to get his clothes made by them. I think maybe somebody mentioned something about it, but yeah.
Well, the fact that I mean, he must know a lot of guitar players. The fact that he considered you is like, that's pretty nice compliment.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just definitely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, geez, you could get anybody on the planet, right? Like
Yeah, that's
at
amazing.
that time or now, even. Yeah,
Yeah, that's really cool.
I was excited. Yeah, I mean, I was like, whoa, no way, my big shots play with GNR. That's pretty cool. Like I said, I worked pretty hard to learn the stuff, and didn't happen.
Yeah, that's still cool just to be in the consideration for that, though. I think
Yeah.
that's amazing. You posted something also recently about how you felt like Mick Mars was the soul of Motley Crue. So, what are your thoughts with them going forward with John Five?
I mean, that guy's John Five's a great player. I mean, I think that I mean, I grew up watching Motley Crue play their first shows in LA, and Mick was always like just so raw and down and dirty. And we just loved him as kids growing up watching the initial Motley Crue. And he just had that grit and that sound. And I always thought that he was like that kind of backbone of their nasty street blues rock, that they are, and unfortunately, didn't, he's ill or whatever the reasons are. He's not playing with them. There's a bunch of things going on around, but I don't know. I mean, I probably would have picked a different guy for them personally. I mean, no knock on John Five. I mean, that guy's a brilliant player, but for me, I would have, I could see like Tracy Guns pulling in and doing that job. He's got that more of that. It's just the sound, of Motley, and a virtuoso kind of guitarist like John Five, who could pretty much play anything. To me, is a little polished for Motley. I mean, that's just my opinion. Not like he's not an amazing guitarist, but I just think a guy like a little bit more street, a little bit more edgy. Like I said, like Tracy would have been great, or
Yeah, and he's from that era too. Like, so it would have been
yeah,
a
he just like he's got that whole LA sound and that whole scene. Yeah.
yeah, that would have been cool too. I was going to ask you about this too. The Love After Death album. I think we talked about this before. Obviously, it never came out, and you felt like that was one of your best albums. Is there any possibility that will ever come out? Because you can listen to it on YouTube, but it's like you guys aren't getting royalties from that, and it's obviously not going to be as many people hearing it. I mean, is there any way, like, what it stands in the way of that being released?
It was released in Europe, right?
Yeah, but not here. Like, it's not on Spotify and all that stuff.
I have no idea. That's just such a can of worms with that. The business of Bang Tangos is, I don't even want to get near that. I don't even want to touch it. But I mean, if anybody was smart, we'd find a label to put it out, and probably all make a little money at it. But just to go into business with those guys in any way, shape, or form at this time is just, I rather just let it sleeping dogs lie with that. But geez, we could just bootleg it out of our garage and probably make some money off of that because nobody really grabbed it. And it's a shame, I mean, I'm surprised that, one of these labels don't come to us and say, hey, we're just going to put it out. We'll cut you guys in. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's never happened.
It's
never,
weird. It's because I just
never been
not even the money, but just so that people could hear it. I mean, it's like so. I feel like I was kind of maybe a little bit ahead of its time in some ways. Like New Generation is such a good song, and the song "Crazy" was like it's kind of the bluesy, but it's got the Alice in Chains thing. I'm like, people should hear this stuff. Is good. I don't know. It's too bad.
I don't know. It's a good question. But at this point, I don't have the energy for it.
Sure.
But I would think that somebody would get a hold of it and just come to us and be like, hey, we want to put this out. It's like, why not? Like, what? I mean, it was like our masterpiece. We all think it's our best record. I think every guy in the band does. We just got burned by it. It's a sad story because we were so excited. We put 2 years in making it, 6 studios all over the country and lots of money, a lot of anticipation and tours lined up. And, we got dropped and boom, they dropped the band and they threw us the record. We couldn't get it picked up except for, Music for Nations across overseas and Japan picked it up. And, that was like the end of the band, but it sucks. We all hung out for about 3 years trying to like make that thing pan out and maybe get the deal here in the States. And it just didn't happen. Yeah.
Lame. Do you have any other like regrets or hindsight with your music career? Like if you could go back in time, would you have done anything differently?
I think with the success of Bang Tango, if we would have worked the single Someone Like You a little longer, we probably would have launched into that next level of, whatever, gold, platinum, and kind of took us into that like level of like Faster Pussycat and LA Guns and those bands that were kind of coming out of that because we had it. I mean, lightning struck with that song and it just, I think the management pulled the trigger on it too early and probably a song that we, instead of releasing a song called Breaking Up a Heart of Stone, if we would have released something a little different off Psycho Cafe, we probably would have even had more success. It's in the cards. You can't really tell like when you're doing it, but I think those two things with that band anyways, probably I would have changed. There was just all kinds of weird things that went down with the decisions made for Bang Tango, that we probably could have had more success. We were going to put a video out for Midnight Struck of Dancing on Coals. And we went in to talk to the label and they're like, we're not going to do that. We're going to put out another live record for you guys. We had this like ballad at the time, all the ballads were happening. Midnight Struck was like a fan fave. And we go in to talk, doing like a video and a single for that. And they go, no, we're gonna go with another live record. And we're like, okay, So there's like just weird decisions, I think, and those are out of my hands or the band's hands. I mean, we fought a lot of stuff, but those were things that probably I wish could have been different. I tried changing myself, but I probably would have hoped it was different.
It seems like it's too, some of it is just luck and timing because what if those first 2 albums were more like indie and then the Love After Death was like your breakthrough and that's what everybody knew you for. Now you're like a 90s band or whatever. Now you're like a Red Hot Chili Peppers or Faith No More, or, like that kind of genre. And then you could have had a whole different career.
Absolutely gone that way. And we could from, 1994, 95 to like 2005 off the success of Love After Death, just like you said, the whole career could have been different. Everything is so pinnacle. Like it just, you gotta line these things up. And that's management. That's your label. That's your booking agent getting you the right tours. And it's, having relations with other bands so you can piggyback with them and get good breaks on tour. We didn't, we missed a lot of opportunities and we had it. I mean, we had it. We were selling out clubs across country, like sold out clubs. A great number one, not number one, but like, number 5 requested video on MTV with someone like you, and everything was right there. It was in our hands, but somehow we dropped the ball, or our team did. Maybe.
Yeah.
So those things were just always frustrating. But I'm not complaining. I have plenty of success. Geez, thank God I got to do what I did, and still, still making money and off selling music on my own, and a solid fan base just from what I've done, to start that. So
Absolutely. Would you have any advice for the younger generations, like starting in the music business? Like, what would you tell them? Like, I know your daughter does music too. Like, what do you tell her?
Well, she's got a whole program. Like, it's just a whole different world now. She's into like indie rock, which is totally, it's not pop, not commercial. It's kind of just this world of music that and society that completely different from what she's doing. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't even know what to say. Write great songs. I mean, who knows? It's so difficult to like to brand yourself and just get a following and just get known a little bit for your name or your band or your song. It's just so saturated with people just throwing out singles every day, and the Spotify, everything's just like, I don't know. How do you weed through it? How do you get that success? And the big labels, I don't even know what's going on with that these days. I mean, with these young bands, I've got some of my friends' kids are successful musicians in big bands, like selling out like 100,000 seat festivals in Europe, and they still have struggles like making ends meet. Like some things, it's like really weird. And everything's free. All the streaming's free. I don't even know. Like my daughter schooled me down about it. Like Scarlett's got her own little career going with it, and it's like she tells me what I'm doing wrong, and I'm like, well, I don't know. I gotta like bring in something. I can't count on like a single on Spotify making me money. I can't. It's not going to give me anything. But I can sign a CD and sell for $25, and people will buy it. So I can make my money back off my investment on recording.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Like, so like, cause I just had Edgar Winter on, well, a few months ago or whatever. And he was saying, cause he had a new album out, and I was asking him, like, what do you want from this album? Like, do you want to sell a bunch of copies? Like, well, at this point, I don't really care about selling. He just wanted to make music that his peers, were proud of. And like, he said he had that, like all his friends and stuff were like, yeah, good album. Is that kind of the same for you? Like, you want to put out an album that you're proud of, that your friends can say, yeah, this is good stuff. Like,
well, fortunate for me, I got a really little like cult following that are fans of my songs and what I do. So now it's to the point where I want to make them happy. I want to, I don't want to like turn them off. I mean, I put out like 6 or 7 solo records, and I've built up a little fan base with these people, through social media and stuff. So I just want to make, I want to like fill the void for their musical, what they expect out of me, and what I've done for them in the past, and they're anticipating this new record. And so, it's not just about my friends going, yeah, man, that stuff rocks, dude. Cool. It's like, I want to make that little group of, followers happy, and it continues to grow. Every record I get more and more, and they pass it on to other people. And I'm lucky that way. It's not huge, but it's enough to like, I'm not just like throwing out music for myself only and for my friends. I'm doing it for, a collective group of people that have started following me and backing me. So
that's awesome. I love it. Well, they're going to, hopefully they like this new album. I haven't heard it. But like you said, if it's a continuation, they should be happy with it. And we'll just wait till it comes out in June. Do we have an official date?
I think we got a date, June 6th. I think we're putting it out. Yeah.
June 6th. Perfect. Well, I'll look forward to that. And I always end each episode, promote a charity. I think last time you were here, you promoted the animal charity, the ASPCA. Yes.
Yeah.
I forget what that stands for. It's but yeah, that's where people can donate money to help rescue animals. So I'll put that website in the show notes as well.
Great.
Along with your website.
Perfect.
All right. Anything else?
I think we're good, Chuck. That's awesome.
Okay.
Thanks for
Awesome
having me
stuff.
again.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear the new stuff. I'm digging the old solo stuff. I'm getting more into it now too. And again, I hope we get to see you live. That would be so fun. Even if it's Vegas, maybe I'll make a drive out there.
Good chance I'll be in Phoenix though, because I know a couple guys out there that keep trying to get us out there.
Who are the guys that you know in Phoenix that I might know?
What's his name? Josh Decker. Josh.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm friends with him on Facebook.
Yeah. He's got his band out there, and he's an old fan of Bang Tango and my stuff, and he's always like, "I'm gonna get you out here, man. I got to get you out here." He's a great dude, and he keeps asking me to come out, and he's talking to promoters and trying to get something out there where I can go out and play.
Perfect. Well, I hope I'll come down. I'll buy a ticket. I'll be front row.
Excellent.
All right. Thanks,
Very
Mark.
cool. Thanks for having me, man.
See you later.
All right. Take care.
Great stuff from Mark Knight. New album from Mark Knight and the Unsung Heroes, Lonesome Songs. It's out June 6th, so check that out. You can follow Mark on Facebook and Instagram. And remember, liking, sharing, commenting, all that stuff helps the algorithm so that more people will find out about the things that he's promoting. And you can help our show out in the same way. And of course, make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen so that you'll be up to date for future episodes. We have some great guests coming up. If you're a fan of this episode, I think you're going to enjoy these ones. So thank you for listening. Have a great rest of your day and shoot for the moon.